Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So we are going to be exploring this solar eclipse that we're going to be having on the 2nd of October. This is in Libra and it will be at the 10 degrees. So if you have any planets around the 10 degree of especially Libra and Aries, well then this is going to affect you most probably more profoundly, but nevertheless this is a very powerful time to pay attention to anything that is coming up, because it's going to be giving you information of what you're most likely going to be revisiting and wrapping up next spring, when we have the last eclipse in this axis of Aries and Libra. Now the North and South node moved into Aries and Libra last spring, in 2023. So last year. So whatever has been coming up for you, whatever you've been working towards, whatever you've been trying to step into or let go of, this is coming to like a culmination now. So a really pivotal time to pay attention to. So now let me give you some tips for this solar eclipse. So before we jump in to this eclipse and what it means and how we can use the energy and what we need to look out for, I want to make a statement. And when I make this statement, I want you to be really honest with what comes up for you. How does it make you feel? And, do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Because whatever reaction you get is going to give you a little bit of information about where maybe you're at. Okay, this is something that I sometimes say to clients when they're in therapy, and everyone's reaction is different, but it does give an idea of what it is that that maybe you need to work through, or how you're perceiving things, right? So here's the statement. You don't owe anyone anything, and no one owes you anything. Okay? So what does that bring up for you? Be really honest. How did that make you feel when you heard me say that? Now we're going to come back to that in a little while, but hold that at the back of your mind. So now let's jump into this solar eclipse. So it will be happening at 10 degrees of Libra. It's with the South Node, and the South Node is all about what we're releasing and letting go of. And this is a new moon, so it's also about setting intentions and heading somewhere new, and that often means releasing something old. Now a solar eclipse is more, we tend to feel the effects more externally, so it's going to be more about the shifts and changes that are happening more outside of ourselves and the things that we need to change. Lunar eclipses, which is what we just had in Pisces, is more internal, so it tends to be more intensely more of an intense emotional period that we work through, in the shifts that we're having, in the mindsets, the beliefs, and the solar eclipses tend to be more how we need to make changes in the physical. And this now in Libra, so you want to know maybe your at the axis in your chart. What house does Libra rule? What house does Aries rule? What is this axis for you? So depending on those houses depends on maybe what it is that you're working through at this time. So let's not forget that eclipses are an energy of sudden, unpredictable change, for better, for worse. It's not bad or good, it just is. But anything does go with eclipse energy, and this is normally felt. These kind of sudden things can happen given a couple of days either side of the eclipse, but the actual energy of the eclipse, the things that we are trying to let go of and change, this tends to play out over the next 6 months. And this is what we're going to be seeing, that whatever's coming up for us now, we have to pay attention to, because this is what we are going to be focusing on or releasing or working towards over the course of the next 6 months. And when I was thinking of the Libra and Aries axis, what we've been working with, this is a lot about connection, and connection with self, but with other. And it was the psychoanalysis Melanie Klein. She worked with children, and she said that envy is a big part of our in a way of our makeup. It's kind of something that we all experience throughout our life, and that's in correlation to the transition of the separation that we have with the mother, which is often our main caregiver. Now, when we're babies, we tend to be more latched onto the mother, and we have a lot more closeness. And as time goes on, we tend to separate more from the mother, and we have to go through this transition of understanding that now we are not part of the mother, but we are separate from the mother. So it's now me and mother and other. So depending on how that transition goes, depends on now how you move on in the world and make these ongoing connections. So if, let's say, for instance, a child feels that they have to fight for their mother's attention, and they find that their needs are not necessarily getting met, and they're seeing that they have to fight for the attention from maybe other siblings that the mother is giving attention to, or the father, this can create some kind of envy. And so where this creates envy, then any attention that child gets, it never feels gratifying enough. It never feels there's a gratitude for it. It almost feels a resentment, because it's not enough. They've had to fight for it. And so as they grow older, they always feels like this sense that there's never it's never quite enough what they're receiving, and there's this expectation of really underlyingly what they're craving is this unconditional mother's love. And this can get you into a lot of trouble when it comes to making connections and keeping connections, because now there's this reliance on the other to give us what we need. So when we think of the Aries and the Libra axis, this is kind of what it talks about in terms of being able to step into our empowerment of self, which is Aries, our sovereignty, and being independent and self-sufficient, and also taking accountability that we are responsible for our own happiness and living our life. But also the Libra axis is about connection and how important that connection is, and the nurturing aspect of that, the belonging that we crave as humans. That's the one thing we crave the most. It's a sense of belonging and connection, and how important it is to have that. But having that in a way where we don't get lost, or we don't throw the expectation on others to give us what we need. And it's that balance, that interdependence. And so now this is where we can start to develop codependency on relationships, or even, just certain beliefs, and the illusion of loss as well, because when we separate from the mother and we're not getting what we need, there can be this sense of loss. So then what happens is we have this subconscious fear that we are always going to lose something, or we need to fight for something all the time. Part of what this thinking about the attachment of the mother and the baby, there needs to be this reconciliation of realizing that even when mother is not with us, we still have safety, and knowing that we are loved and that she will be coming back. And so it's like, have you ever not seen a friend or a family member for such a long time that you've always been very close to, and then the moment you see each other, it just feels like, wow, it's like no time has passed. All right, because the truth is that it is an illusion. Loss is an illusion. We're never really separated from the people that we love, maybe physically, but that connection is always there. There's never really true loss. It's only the way we are perceiving it. And that's something that we are going to be talking more into when the nodes shift into that Pisces and Virgo, of really connecting that physical and spiritual realm. So that's very exciting, but we'll get more into that another time. To swiftly move on with this eclipse, we also have Mercury with this eclipse. And when a planet is with an eclipse, it gets eclipsed out. Okay, so the energy of this planet is not going to be working as efficiently. So Mercury is all about communication. It can be negotiation, messages and information. So at this time there can be a sort of frustration with those kind of things, or almost feeling like there's some sort of limitation as well that's happening at the time. Maybe we're not really getting what we need, or the information we need, or it's not coming in clearly. So just be mindful of that as well. And being in the sign of Libra, Libra is about balance and harmony, and people with a lot of Libran energy can find it really difficult to make decisions. Okay, so they can be really indecisive. That's what they're known for. And with Mercury there, which is about decision making, thinking and communicating, there can be this real sense of fear coming up of not making the right decision. So just, you never want to make decisions too abruptly around eclipses anyway, because the energy is just erratic. So just take your time and just allow whatever comes to you to come to you, and just give yourself some time to process after the eclipse what's coming up and what decisions you want to make. But this is also something that you may want to think about over the next 6 months, that you don't want to be afraid of making decisions either. And this is part of the axis, being the Aries, the North Node being in Aries. The North Node is where we're heading, what we're working towards, what we need to focus on. And that is about our sovereignty and being in that masculine energy, that healthy masculine energy of knowing that we can make decisions for ourselves. And also being receptive and in that feminine energy, which is what Venus stands for, which is the ruler of Libra. So keep in mind over these next 6 months that there may be decisions that need to be made, and if that is something that's difficult, because something that I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot is when someone, for instance, may be in a relationship and they say, I know that it's probably best for me to leave, or I know that it's going to have to come to an end at some point, but I don't want to be the one who does it, right? So they leave it in the hands of the other person to make that decision, to finally kind of say, right, okay, I'm filing for that divorce, or I'm going to pack my bags and leave, or whatever, that finalizes that relationship. It's like they know it needs to end, but they can't do it. And for any of you who are in a situation where that may be coming up for you or is difficult for you, that can often be deeply rooted in the fear of making the wrong choice through consequences. It's the fear of consequences, of what's going to happen, and the fear of missing out as well. So for instance, if you was a child and maybe you was made to feel really bad when you made the wrong decision, or what appeared to be the wrong decision, maybe you was made to feel worthless or not good enough or stupid, and so now when you made a decision, you just felt really crappy and not good, and there was consequences for that. And so every time there was a moment that you had to make a decision, there was this fear that was bubbling there subconsciously, of that if I get this wrong, it's going to be awful, it's going to cause me to feel terrible, there's going to be consequences, it's going to be really, really bad. And so there's this there's safety in allowing someone else to make that decision for you, because now you don't have to deal with the consequences, or have that regret or resentment of missing out on something, or having something sort of taken away. So these are things that can be coming up as well. But whatever area of life this is going to be playing out for you, it's not always going to be relationships for some people. Some people it's going to be for work, it's going to be maybe certain lifestyle changes. So let's say this is happening in your 10th house, your 10th and 4th house axis. Libra, your 10th house, Aries, your 4th house. So maybe you have you're a manager, or you manage people, or CEO of a company, and now you're saying, that was great, that felt great and fulfilled me for a certain amount of time, but now I'm not fulfilled anymore. Now I want to do something, maybe a creative pursuit, and do something completely different. But there's this part of you that just can't let go. There's this part of you that feels that you need to keep this status, this authority. And maybe when you look at the 4th axis and you think about your home life, maybe as a child, you had to take on a lot of responsibility, right? Maybe you had to be very self-sufficient, and you kind of felt that you had to take on the world as such, and a lot more than maybe what you should have. And there's this feeling that if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. If I don't do it, it's not going to be good enough. And so you put all that pressure on yourself to always have to be, taking the lead, and maybe you don't want to now take the lead because you have to, for everyone else. Maybe part of taking the lead is actually doing something for yourself, and heading in a new direction that's going to really give you that fulfillment of feeling empowered, which is what Aries is all about. Right, so you can apply this to your axis, but even if you don't know your chart, or you don't have your time of birth to find out where the Aries and Libra house is for you, all you have to do is really tap in. You just tap in, and what's going on for you right now. What point of your life is the most frustrating for you? What's nagging at you? What's the point of pain right now, or frustration, or unease? And that's going to tell you where this is happening for you. What's been going on since spring last year, and now, and what's coming up for you now, because there's going to be some very a lot of maybe difficult choices and decisions coming up over the next 6 months. Now, we also have, with this eclipse, we have this eclipse squaring Mars in Cancer. Now, Mars doesn't do too great in Cancer, because Mars is very impulsive and wants to take action, and it can be very forthright in the way he wants to express himself. And Cancer is a feminine sign. It's more reserved. It can be very passive aggressive as well. And the Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is to do with the home and the mother and attachment. So it's, thinking about the whole attachment thing again, this plays into it a lot. What are we holding on to? So Mars in Cancer can really hold on to things that is not healthy. It's like that kind of envy, or that passive aggressiveness, and that needing to hold on to something for dear life. So what are you holding on to? What is kind of stopping your growth from you stepping into your independence and into what you need to be doing in the world? All right, that's going to really, fill you with passion and ignite that sense of self. Okay, so this square is going to create a little bit more tension for you to be able to see that, to see where these limitations are for you as well. And because Cancer is to do with our safety and our security, this is why it can be so hard to let go of whatever it is that maybe we have been guided and maybe intuitively nudged to move away from, because there is this sense of fear of loss, fear of missing out, fear, of making the wrong choice because of those things. But on the plus side, because it's rooted in the nurture and the things that we love and what we need, Mars in Cancer can be really powerful in terms of really fighting for what you want, what you need, what you hold valuable as well, and for the people you love. So if there's something you're fighting for, if there's something you're passionate about, something you want, this is also going to be a really good time over these next few months to really focus on that and drill in on that, and you will have the power to do that if you if it's for your highest good, and if it's something that you really hold valuable to yourself, that's not going to keep you stuck and stagnant, right? Now, the good thing is in this eclipse is that even though we have it squaring Mercury, this Mars in Cancer is going to be trining Venus in Scorpio. And a trine is a very it's a very supportive, it's a very benefic energy. So here Venus in Scorpio is speaking to Mars in Cancer and saying, listen, slow down, darling, it's okay. Let's just work through this. Let's just slow down. Let's just get to the bottom of what we really want, what we're really feeling. Don't forget, Venus is in Scorpio. Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things. Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio isn't scared to look in the dark, right? And look beneath all the rubble and crap. So Venus here is saying, let's take our time, let's slow down, and let's just really think about what it is that we really desire, what we really hold valuable and is really meaningful, in a deep way. So there's a lot of support here from Venus with Mars, and also we have a Saturn who is in Pisces, and Saturn is also trining Venus in Scorpio and trining Mars in Cancer. So we have what we call a grand trine in the water signs of Pisces, Cancer and Scorpio. So with Saturn here, which is great, is also saying to Mars, look, I've got your back, I've got your back here. Let's really get to the bottom of this. Let's do it properly, right? Because Saturn is about doing things properly and not taking those shortcuts. And in Pisces, it's saying, hey, wake up, Pisces, no time for dreaming. We need to get a move on here. We need to be real. We need to really be realistic here about what it is that we're doing, and where we're heading. So even though Mars is squaring this eclipse, it is giving us this energy of the next 6 months of really being able to balance out those emotions, those intense emotions that may be coming up, and really looking deep and not being scared of looking deep and thinking about what it is that we really, really want and what we hold value, and how we can step into our empowerment to do that. So even with all this intensity that will be coming up for us, to really dig deep, to really look, to step into our power, we do have a lot of supporting energy there if we want it, if we're willing to look at it. Right now, going back to my statement at the beginning, that you don't owe anyone anything and no one owes you anything. What did that honestly bring up for you? What came up? Was you triggered in any way? Because if you was, then this is probably a really powerful axis for you to be working with, in terms of attachment, in terms of what expectations maybe you have, and that you have relied on others to give you what it is that you need. How can you give that to yourself? And we can only love someone as much as we love ourselves. We can only show love as much as we show it ourselves. And so if there's any blockages there, if there's anything that you may struggle with in terms of whether that's showing someone affection, whether that's being able to emotionally be vulnerable and open up, these are things that can block us and keep us from really forming those healthy relationships where we can fully be ourselves, fully embrace ourselves, and also accept others for exactly where they are and who they are, with no expectation. Because the truth is, there is only alignment. Okay, so if someone is not giving us something that we need, then it's often showing us what we are not giving to ourselves. Also remembering that this isn't just about romantic relationships. This is all relationships. We and aspects of our life. Work. Where do we have an expectation of work? But where can we? Where do we have to take accountability that maybe we're doing something that doesn't really fulfill us? We're not really stepping into our power. We think that's maybe what we need to be doing. Okay, so rather than blaming everyone at work or the work we're being given, well, what can we do about it? That's true mastery. That's really stepping into our healthy masculine energy of saying, well, I'm taking accountability. I'm taking control of my life. I'm taking control of my happiness, because really it falls on me. And when I can take accountability for that, it means that everything else in my life that I receive from others can be fully received and appreciated, and we can connect in such a healthier way. In that way, that we can appreciate the relationships that we have coming in. We don't hold resentment, we don't have expectation, and the same way that no one should ever expect that from us. So with that, I will leave it there. I hope that the eclipse goes as smoothly as possible, and hopefully brings you some nice sudden surprises, because sometimes it does. But yeah, just take your time. Don't rush. Don't feel that. Sometimes there can be this feeling around eclipse energy that there's like this anticipation, and we have to move quickly, or we're going to lose something, or we're going to miss out on something. But that again is rooted in fear. You can never go wrong with just taking your time, unless you're sure about something, unless you're sure and it's something you're thinking about for a long time and you're just ready to move. By all means do it. You know yourself best, you know your situation best, but otherwise don't be afraid to take your time and work through these next 6 months, so that you can become empowered and start living the life more authentically for yourself. So good luck with this eclipse, everyone, and sending you all so much love.